Hey, welcome to the best presentation ever.
By Caroline
And Ricardo.
Our topic this week is the geometry of architecture, and I know you all are on the edge of your seats with pure excitement, so let's get started.
Geometry is one of the most important fundamentals of architecture. Shapes and angles are used in every single aspect of it. Geometric figures, forms, and transformations build the material of architectural design. Without these shapes, angles, and dimensions, a building wouldn't just be, well, a building.
When we first think of geometry, we often think of two-dimensional shapes like these. This is a concept called plane geometry, geometry at one of its most fundamental forms. This is when we view shapes two-dimensionally, like viewing drawings on a sheet of paper.
However, this is only the basics. Steve and Thalia Lubin, both architects with 5-year degrees in their field from the University of Oregon at Eugene, point out 3 other important aspects of geometry used in architecture: abstract geometry, the geometry of scale, and logic.
Imagine for a moment you're an architect designing this building. It's not enough to simply determine the height, length, and angles of the building from one perspective. Instead, the building must be viewed in relevance to an abstract space, or in 3 dimensions.
Think of it like viewing a sculpture. The whole piece can't be viewed by looking at it from one side, or even view it like the cool bullet scene in that movie Mr. Jacobiak was an extra in.
Another important concept of geometry used in architecture is the geometry of scale. The geometry of scale is making sure all aspects of a building are proportionate to the human body and to each other. We wouldn't want a building with a ceiling too low to stand in or a door too small to get through.
The proportions of a room are also extremely important in determining the feeling and atmosphere associated with that space. This is where buildings can get really creative. For example, churches are often built big with high ceilings to reflect the greatness of the power of God. Some architects also intentionally design a building out of proportion to convey a certain feeling created by an area. This is one of the most challenging skills required to an architect.
Lastly, architecture requires a great amount of logic. An important aspect of geometry is, and really any type of math. As Thalia Lubin says, the final design is a bundle of compromises. The architect's job is to impose logic on all the competing forces, to find the natural order of things.
And if you would like to stalk Steve and his wife Thalia, they now own their own architecture firm in Woodside, California, and have designed awesome buildings like these.
Well, unfortunately, the best presentation ever is coming to an end. Now, I know you're sad, but hey, dry your tears. We'll always have this special memory to look back on when we're dried up raisins in a nursing home.
And here's our golden reference page. And pause now.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed.
Created using Powtoon.